loading up as well. Yep, so KEBABS can only make it up to 15 points, so KEBABS confirmed the Seabee champion. KEBABS could go to second place, but as you can see, the score is really close. If they lose one game, then suddenly either Odin, Spawnguard, Nobilis, or Sorcerer could all jump those teams, and they could suddenly swap places. So anything from second to sixth place could happen here, and sixth place actually means that you will be fighting at the third place spot from the Rustic division to stay inside the Feudal division. So you don't want to be there. Fifth place is safe, fourth place also, third place, second place of course, and the higher you get, the more rewards you get as well as a team. Seventh and eighth place teams are demoted straight away to the Rustic division, so Argonauts and Slavs won't be able to catch up anymore to any of the safe spots here at the top. So all the matches that we're going to see next are going to be very important for this 2 to 6th place. So nothing has been played for yet. These matches will be very exciting and very meaningful, especially considering that. Let me check, teams are almost ready. Especially considering that all of these teams definitely want to keep contesting plebs for next season, and also there's a few ties in there, so some of the teams might be forced to play a tiebreaker match at the end of the season. Alright, teams are ready. Comps, are you as well?
I am as well. Let's
excellent. Then I'm gonna show you the lobby and we are gonna get started. There we go, guys. It is KEBABS on the attack, Odin's Legion on the defense. Liao, of course, the general band, Chevaliers banned by KEBABS, Genji banned by Odin's. We are going to the unit selection, and Comps, take us away.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. Let's see, guys. Let's see what they bring. Let's see if they do anything special. Like last week, we saw some curious units, and curious to see what they bring now. I'm instantly seeing a lot of Cav again, defender side. Some Varangians, some Falcos, okay, the usual stuff. From attackers, a lot of Imperial Pikes, some Cav, some Varangians, Shield Maidens, the usual. Claymores as well. So yeah, curious to see how they will go about this.
Absolutely, and I'm just seeing a lot of double Cav right now on Odin's side, so like Ruffle, Pintero, Lucostrel, Bodyfast, Opchapolis, Itch Magic, Mist, and we might be getting more. So this might be one game.
Yeah, definitely. To me, that screams either they're selling out, right? Just going out, having fun in the field, or it says to me, okay, we're gonna leave A, let it be, let them attack it, we're gonna defend B, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And fight in the streets, and that's risky, but it's also like logical. In this meta, you need that Cav. It's so oppressive and so strong.
Yeah.
So yeah,
definitely.
I'm curious to see how it goes.
Yeah, and on the other side for KEBABS, it's a lot of Shield Maiden plus Cav, or Varangian plus Cav, so interesting mix there. And I'm looking at the infantry from Odin's, and I was kind of expecting for them, like the 4 guys that play infantry, to play like, I don't know, Modal, Fortebraccio, Impike, just those units. But there's also Imperial Shields, and even Zikali and Malicia's Feather, so they're either baiting this one. I'm not gonna say it too loud, but who knows?
I mean, I kind of like it, right? Those Imperial Shields, if you can lock the enemy down, like if you can keep them tight in a little spot and then have the Cav coming in, that is what you want, right? You want them contained so you can kill them all with your Cav. So when they're bringing the shields to me, that says like, okay, we're going to let them come down the stairs, we're going to lock them there, and then we're going to let our Cav run in and wreak havoc.
Yep, absolutely. Alright, so let's find out to see what Odin is going to do here. They are showing themselves on the wall, that's at least. Actually, early trebuchet here from KEBABS. They don't want to get ruined by, or tilted maybe, by this ballista here.
Always nice to see, right? The respect they give to the ballista.
Alright, good. Alright, so yeah, looks like standard setup here for Odin's at the start. Nothing special yet. The muskets going around and making sure to destroy the cannons that the other artillery guys are not able to destroy. Another trap actually. Wonder where it's going. Alright, looks like they saw an opportunity here to hit something. Or they missed the cannon.
Yeah, I'm quite curious about what that trap was. Maybe they saw something that we didn't see, or they missed. Could be both.
Exactly. Alright, so I'm gonna check it out here. Actually, so the units, lots of Sons of Fenrir here. So, and also blue halb sergeants, or like, yeah, the blue halberdiers. No sergeants, that's the blue halberdiers. I'm
Yeah, that's
pretty sure that this smells fishy. Smells fishy for
it.
these teams, right?
Seems a bit weird. Maybe they're trying to like get on a defender as long as possible, use traps to thin the enemy out, but you're not going to be able to hold them off quite like for a long time with blue units to just run over you.
Yeah, and meanwhile, this battering ram is getting destroyed. So KEBABS have decided to destroy the battering ram, or rather the gate by themselves.
Yeah, definitely. It's also it works. It just takes a very long time.
Yeah.
But once they get up on the walls, they take A hopefully pretty quickly, and then they have time for the rest of the map.
Oh, nice, Salido! Look at this surprise.
Okay, but instantly the spot
Oh
to
yeah,
the
nice
trap.
trap.
Very
Ooh,
nicely
that
done.
flew in right there. Yeah, that's a good one. Alright, so Sons of Fenrir tried to get some hero kills there, but weren't able to. But now the gate is open, but no battering ram, so the battering ram is going to have to get closer. But then already moves in his Falconetti to take out the battering ram, I suppose.
Another trap incoming on the gate. Let's see how it hits.
So, alright, so this might be the strat here from Odin's. Destroy the battering ram, and then this means that KEBABS cannot use Cav to get inside through the gate, but they can only use the infantry that's there. So this will maybe allow Odin's to fight really well with the amount of Cav that they have brought.
Yeah, definitely, but we cannot forget about Falconetti, right? Once they're in position and they start shooting, it's very hard to hold that gate.
Yep, exactly right. Alright, so I'm just going to focus on this fight here because the Ferengi and the Sicalian are trying to push through, and KEBABS are just trying to brute force this. See if they can.
The engines died pretty quickly there.
Yep,
See how it goes.
Alright, so Odin's looks like they're going to hold this spot there. Nice trade of units.
Yeah, definitely, but it felt to me like there was only one unit going in, right? One Varangian going in, some support from some Falconetti maybe, but it didn't feel like a full-hearted push there.
Yeah, absolutely. The Sicalian was, I think, the only really unit from... Oh, hang on, we got a fight there. Our Bodyfest trying to suicide on what's probably the Sicalian or some... What are these? Imperial Archers. Right.
Okay, that's...
oh, no, that's not even Imperial Archers. That's Fire Archers, I believe. Anyway. Alright, we're seeing some weird picks these last couple of rounds here.
I'm also seeing some Banner Guards, I think they are.
Yeah, true, yeah. The Banner Guards as well. Really good for recycling charges though, so that's a valid strategy, I would say.
What unit are they going to be used for?
Yeah, that's another question. I mean, Shieldman in charge can be really strong, but Cover Commander definitely better.
Yeah, definitely. Those blue archers, you love to see it, right?
Absolutely.
Getting flashbacks to Siege.
Yeah, always good to see more archers win the game, if you haven't heard of it.
Yeah, bring archers win game, guys.
Maybe today will be the first time. We'll see. Alright, looks like Bodyfest continues to play at the front. He wants to get some hero kills, but he's got to watch out because he might get himself killed. KEBABS trying to get another trap into here. Ooh,
it's a high value
trap. Oh, damn! That's a nice shot there. Alright, so that unit's gonna have to retreat. Meanwhile, Luanukur going down. Usually on the pole axe. Oh, nice pickup. I think this might be a good kill here. Oh, it's still really good. More CC. Look at the Iron Sights. Oh man, Iron Sights so tanky. Marv is going down though. No Iron Sights. There he goes. 2 pickups there. Will we see another?
Deathmatch, let's go.
Deathmatch indeed. Alright, still gate fine. Alright, and they back off. Alright, we need some superior casters to follow all of this. Veteran Ram still not being pushed, so the gate is still closed. Sicalian throw in there. Alright, this time Dimakari with Sicalian, we're trying to force that at the gate, but that's not going to work. Odin's, I think I found a really nice way to slow down KEBABS.
Yeah, they're definitely, they're buying time. I think Boldlyfest is jumping down again, trying to buy some time again.
Yep.
It's slowing down kebabs, and that's what you need to do, right?
Exactly.
Keep them busy, keep trying to get some kills,
Yeah.
some heroes.
We can see them keep jumping in and down now. I think the Zicalian, yep, Zicalian from Cray are down now. That's not Leoncourt, it's Cray. I probably had to rename to Leoncourt for some reason, whatever happened there. But yeah, so far it looks like Odins are having a really solid strategy here, and Kebabs need to find a way to break open this castle here.
Yeah, I think they're just waiting for the right moment to pull the trigger, right? Just
Mhm.
gathering up, do some rotation, and then just go in.
Yep,
Because
alright.
Odin's changed their units now. It's full tier 5,
Mhm.
some tier 4. Like, then already lost his Falcos. That's hard to see.
Yep.
A lot of Cav. Monastics, Winged Hussars.
Mhm. Yeah, there's definitely a couple of, yeah, like you said, a couple of heroes that really lost important units. Then the Falcos, there were also some further Bracho on Odin's side that were lost. Of course, on the Kebab side, we saw the Zicalian militia going down. And
Ooh, they
also
closed
Arena
the gate.
Varangian. Ooh, Sexy Hunter, for example, only with Cataphracts. Alright, this gate might be going down.
They have to break it, because otherwise you will
You
get
have to
in.
be quickly. They just closed it like a couple of seconds ago, so I wonder when the timer will be back up to open it again. I'm not sure if they will make it in time.
Yeah, but yeah, Sexy Hunter already losing his Vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
His Damakeri only has his Cav left. Has
Yep.
to be careful if you want to be useful into this
Mm.
game.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of surprised that Kebabs haven't sent anyone to the left side. Like, literally no one. You could at least try and like mix some bait maybe, but we'll see. Alright, the battering ram finally getting there, so this gate is going to go down. The heroes already able to do so. There we go. Alright. So now
That's
those cataphracts from Sexy Hunter can finally come in, and also from Barbar. So let's see if Kebabs will be able to find the fight they're looking for now.
Yeah, definitely. They're waiting for the right moment, right? And seems to me that maybe now they're slowly moving in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very well
It's
made.
definitely happening something.
Yeah.
Uh, Considering going in, seeing how Odin will
Yeah.
react to their movements.
Exactly. Alright, we're gonna have to watch these Sicalian. The Sicalian are gonna try and throw on the most likely on the fucking netty there from Odin's. We also got these archers shooting here at the fucking netty. They're going back in hiding. Alright,
Go
nice. Alright, so let's see what's going to happen here.
straight for the supply. I love to see it. Let's see how Odin's react with this. See if they can lock him down.
Exactly right. Right, yeah, so lots of Cav are out. Alright, Odin's engaging. But Kebabs are really with a lot of stuff on the stairs. These cataphracts are not going to get anything there unless they go for Odin. Here comes two Zors. Ooh, that's a good charge though. Alright, Odin is clearly winning on the supply side. Now it's all about the main fight. But here comes the cataphracts from Kebabs as well, trying to counter. Killing all of these Zors. Nice charge by Hunter there. Big pickups. Oh, Linkur also getting a lot of kills there.
Those blue archers doing work on top of the stairs, man.
Just saying.
The Falcon, the Falcons all as well, just shooting, but it's very hard against the Cav because it's so mobile, right? And the Falcons need time to whittle the units down.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, meanwhile, the Lama the Brave is still interrupting that supply. Also some guys sitting here. Actually, that supply is captured by Kebabs, so Kebabs now rushing through with the reinforcements to the B and they're trying to capture it there. Or will they? Just Lu and Leoncourt capturing it. The other one's going to the supplies, trying to clear up those heroes without units. Odin's desperately need to get in some units here.
Yeah, definitely. Kebabs going in with all their Cav, just forcing it right now, right? You need to do it, you need to move, you need to push, and you just this fight on the supply is going to be so detrimental, right? If they secure this, they can push to B, and if they have B, straight to base.
Exactly.
But Odin's with the Modaus for the Brazzo trying to lock their flanks down.
Yeah, there's Fortebraccio and Modaudo from Odin's, so that might slow down the Cav a little bit if they can get them in brace position. But
Yeah,
more Cav coming. Here we go for the Zoras against Monastics. Zoras should be able to win this, but it looks like they weren't fully charged, or they will go through.
it seems to me like KEBABS are taking control over the supply.
Yeah.
Now they have to regroup, start pushing B. I mean, Odins are really pushing them off now.
Yeah, it's very chaotic, this one. In the end, looks like Odins may actually be able to recapture it. Can KEBABS still interrupt it? No, right? So it's back to Odins now. Also still in control of that right supply there.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, Odin's got the Modal ready, got the
All
Fort
the
Russia.
all the anti-cav did it in the end there, right? For the
Mm-hmm.
Dacia, the Modao, just put it on point and
Exactly. Nothing on the B though. If KEBABS
they,
can get something on there.
yeah, definitely they need to start pushing that B, just cap it before they come in. Just see it, what Odin is bringing right
Mm.
now. A lot of infantry, lots of cav. Let's see if they can get value out of it.
Yep, exactly. Alright, fighting at the gate, fighting at B. Alright, Odin's got control of B. KEBABS taking the supply on the left side of the screen. Right supply still in solid hands of Odin's. And I'm waiting for more infantry to come out for KEBABS, but they only got Cav right now, it looks like. So they are gonna need to find their kills and use the quality that they have. It's only 1 minute 40 left. So it's going to be a really close one. Units pretty close, 70 difference in favor of Odin's.
Yeah, but KEBAB going for the big flank. Let's see how they deal with those Phantom
Yeah.
Dacia. What Halberdiers, I'm sorry.
Yep, yep. Alright, big trap flying in there. Yeah, okay, so this might be nice pickups from KEBABS if they can get it. It's magic, looks to be in a vulnerable position there. But only 1 minute 10 left. Alright, they need to hurry up, they need to win this fight.
Nice, ring this hard charge, straight to.
There we
Modao.
go. Yeah, that's a good charge. Modao still braced on the point though from Odin's. They're wiping. This is going to be really close. Dova coming in with the charge. Body Fast coming in with charge. Is Magic coming in with the charge? That's the rewipe. Oh, this is so close. 45 seconds left. Who's got the units?
Feels like Odin's got this. Those cav charges in the back with those katas, that's just detrimental. They just shattered all the cav.
Extremely good. Alright, Odin's. Looks like they're doing it again. KEBABS not ready though. They're coming back with the cataphracts trying to wipe all of these heroes, but there's so many long swords and short swords now. Feels like you can't get them off. There's only probably 5 seconds left before it's not possible anymore to wipe the point and get enough capture points in. Supply still on Odin's, but don't matter anymore. Odin's Legion, Ardenor here on the point, Eldad, Ruffle. All doing such a great job holding this off against KEBABS. Very surprising. After taking down no beaches, Odin's wanna take down KEBABS as well.
GG.
Damn.
Sexy hunted MVP with only katas in the end.
That's good stuff. Alright, so yeah, like I said, Sexy Hunter, he lost both of his units. MVP still for KEBABS, but more importantly, Body Fast putting up the show here with 140 unit kills. Absolutely stomping it. Dova also doing really well. We could see both of these guys together with its magic coming in at the last wipe there on the B point. Look at the hero kills. 9 hero kills for its magic. Excellent stuff. Damn.
9 hero kills. Oof.
That was a close game. Like
Body Fast running dual blade, getting kills, man. I'm proud of the guy.
And I really like what Odin's did. They delayed for so long that in the end KEBABS didn't really have time to regroup and set up a proper attack. It was really chaotic at the end.
But I also feel like KEBAB was also like always moving as a 50-man group, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just going straight as one group, moving to supply, moving to B. And I was wondering, okay, but there weren't a lot of flanks, it's hard, right?
Yeah.
And Odin's rotated very nicely. The anti-cav always in the right position. The Modaus on point every single time. And like you said, the time it was running out, the beginning phase was so slow. And then the end it was a time. Because they were so close on the unit count, right?
Yeah, it was really close. It was like 500 to 500, and that's the thing. Like there was definitely some really good units left for both teams, but the time was just not there anymore.
Yeah, definitely.
Alright, getting the lobby back up. Yeah, so we saw a lot of Kev. Again, not that many flamers this time. We did see the Falconetti being very effective though.
Yeah, we saw a lot of anti-cav again, right? But a lot of
Mhm.
Modaus, and they're really getting their utilization, right? They're the halberdiers as well on the side flank, holding it down,
Mhm.
breaking the Ring-to-Sars charge. It's nice to see when, okay, sure, the enemy is hitting a lot of cav, but you know what units to bring, and you're bringing them, and you're using them correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. Alright, switching sides here. Alright, so then what do we expect now? KEBABS is now going to defense. Honestly, I'm still so surprised that KEBABS lost this game. Odins are definitely rising in their level a lot. KEBABS maybe not thinking this is that important anymore with their match this Friday against Surf Slayer, of course, in the core tournament, but still. Oof.
Yeah, definitely. I think Odin's is stepping up, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've shown it last week as well. They've shown it today as well. Their defense is very nice. Let's see how they go about the attack.
Yep, absolutely. And I wonder if KEBABS will go back to the heavy calf actually, because against Pond Guard on Kurak Castle they also played double calf. That was of course when Liao were still there. But those Liao didn't do that well for them against Pond Guard. Pond Guard took the win 2-0 in that game or in that match. So Pond Guard back then showed that they knew how to counter the calf. Of course, not don't take away anything from KEBABS. Like all of these players we know, they are extremely good. They've shown it time and time again. So they need to come back and at least try and get a point here if they wanna like do well for themselves in the standing. Because remember, KEBABS playing against Plebs next week. That's going to be a rough game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the end of the season, every game counts, right? You do
Mm-hmm.
not want to be in that position that has the potential to drop out of the league, right? To degrade.
Exactly.
So every single game counts, and I think Kebabs will feel the pressure right now to tie, right? To get their defense on point and to make sure that they do not lose it and at
Mm-hmm.
least get a tie in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, so like both of these teams, they will make it either somewhere in between second place or sixth place. Sixth place means that you're forced to play a promotion match against the third place from the Restek. We've said it a couple of times. Keep saying it because it really matters. Um, Again, like of course, if you're sixth in the Feudal division, being Odin's, being KEBABS, or Pond Guard, or Surf Slayer, or No Beaches, then you are expected to win against third place from the rest division. But Gum Faction, Paelia, Engagner, Chocolate Goblin, all of these teams, they are doing really well back down there, and they wanna move to the Field division. So they will be like bringing their A game. If you're not prepared, you might go down. So you said it right, Comms. These teams definitely want to get any win they can get.
Yeah, definitely. Prediction, CB. Let's see.
Oh yeah.
Will
Alright.
Kebabs take this or not?
Mm-hmm. I am curious. Alright. I do hope so. But honestly, alright, so let's go to like the prediction channel said 43 in favor of KEBABS, 25 in Odin. So most of you weren't expecting this either. So not gonna lie, this has been a surprise. And it's not coming out of nothing, right? Odin's won last week against No Beaches as well. And now they seem to be doing it again against KEBABS. Also on the
Yeah,
first game. The second game, Odin's won, or No Beaches won last week as well. But now we have to find out if KEBABS will.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it has to be a boost in confidence, right? Last week they getting with no beaches, right, getting the win, and it's just now again their defense, solid defense. It has to be boosting their confidence, and now they're
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, this attack, we're gonna get this. We got this, guys. And I'm curious to see, right, to see how Kebab after this not too great attack, how they will go about their yeah, curious to see how they're gonna go about their defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm showing you the lobby, guys, because the teams are almost ready. I'm gonna check if they are. And Most of to see. I mean, I'm very curious. Well then. Alright, didn't see that coming. Alright, so we didn't get an upset in our first match. Let's find out if we get a really big upset in our next match. Teams are ready. We're gonna hit the start button. Here we go, comes. I hope you're ready for this one. Odin's Legion leading this match. Oh, 1-0. Good, good, good. Ben's still the same. Shanji's from Odin, Sylvia's from KEBABS. And Liao is also disabled. Also the Red TR unit, by the way. But that one is not available in the custom lobby Ben's. Alright. On to the units. Let's find out what they bring. Weapon classes, by the way. Lots of short swords, long swords at the end of the battle from Odin's. They might have been swept out by them because they had to hold the defense, but definitely surprising to see so many long swords as well.
Yeah, definitely. Still rocking the heavy armor, right? Still meta. Yeah, sure, the bike is powerful, but the armor value you get from heavy armor is so detrimental to certain positions, right? Being able to survive a couple seconds longer can mean the difference. When we look at units, right? I see on the kebab side, with engines, a lot of cut-off flags, some sons, a couple of Zakillians, you love to see it. Some Claymore, some banner guards as well from Makuka.
Yeah, he's bringing them again. I mean, and they can also reset cav charges, so that might be one reason to bring them.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a very nicely unit if you can get the support right, if you know how to play them, if you know to be able to play with your team. But yeah,
exactly.
Let's look at the attackers then.
Yeah.
Modao, Shield Maidens, some Berserkers, some Imperial Shields, Fortebrazio, Flamers, Falconetti, 2 Falconettis actually. That could be interesting to see how they move about it.
Yeah, exactly. KEBABS only having the one Falconetti, so protecting that from Lalama the Brave will be very important if they want to bring those in position.
Yeah, definitely. I think for the Falconetti will be so important, right, on this map, right? Being able to, if you're able to just keep pounding the enemy, their formations, if you're able to disrupt them, you're gonna have so much value, right? KEBABS only bringing one, definitely you need to protect that unit and you need to make sure that it's safe and you do not lose it to the Killian throw, for example.
Yep, you do. Alright, I can't wait to see how this match will unfold. Still a bit shaken by the last game. With such a chaotic finish as well, like it was back and forth all the time. We had that like weird strategy with the gate being opened and closed and opened and closed.
Weird for you, for me it's a daily ritual.
Yeah.
No, but the opening and closing gate can be such a good tactic, right? You delay so much. You see it again, right?
Yeah.
They open the gate, you're able to hold them down, and you can close it when you want it.
This might be a bit of a joke, though. There we are again. Alright, deep diving under the map. For those who don't know it, this is what the maps look like from below.
Very nice.
Excellent. Alright, anyway.
Yeah, but KEBABS opening gate but not setting up inside of the gate, to me that tells me like they're gonna be saving a bit, you know, playing a little bit safer, do not letting their units take damage unnecessarily. It's nice to see, but it's also like a little bit risky because if the enemy, the attackers engage in it, you need a little bit more time to be able to set up. Modao's take 2 seconds, 3 seconds to be able to be fully braced. So that's all. Like that standard can be valuable if the attackers decide to go in.
Absolutely. Alright, look at this. So, Odin's, after destroying the battering ram before, they want to make sure it reaches. But not gonna lie, this might be tricky. The short bow, Razin, he's actually going to take it down bit by bit by bit.
Yeah, they can be such a nuisance, right? Just keep on hitting those Matulatori, delaying the battering ram, it's down. It has like it will take a while before the respawns and you have to push it again, saving so much time.
Exactly. Alright, so the towers have reached. Nothing on the left side really. So I expect Odins to group at the front 2 towers.
Yeah, it seems like it, right? But also like the left tower can be such a good flanking position.
Mhm.
Because once you're on top of the walls, you have such a stronger position than when you're on top of the siege tower, right? So let's see if they send people with units over there to get on top of the wall,
Yeah,
or if they're just going from one siege tower.
absolutely.
You've seen this a lot today, pushing from one siege tower, and for some teams it has worked, but from others, like it didn't really. And to
Mhm.
me, it's like, okay, pushing from one tower, but maybe it would be better to split it a bit. Let's see
Yeah,
how
it
it
might
goes
be.
for
Yeah, exactly.
Odin's this
Like
time.
I feel like KEBABS, they don't want to even contest this at all because they're only on one side. They're just sitting here and they just want to make Odin's think about it twice. But Odin's free to cap the A point. It's all allowed. It's all Gucci.
Yeah, definitely. And you see it paid off coming from one tower.
Exactly. Yeah. Clearly the superior strat, despite what Combs is saying. But no, jokes aside, I think these two towers are just like a little bit too far away from each other. Um, but it depends, of course, also on how the defenders are set up.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to keep a watch on the Falcos, see how they go, see how they're protected, see what they're shooting at.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I'm very curious. Right now, the Falconetti, they are only sitting with the Zikali militia there. And I don't know if this guy has seen them. But if he has, then surely Odin's will make an attempt. Alright, new strategy here. Odin's going from the left staircase, looks like.
Seems like they're splitting up a bit.
Yeah, all troops moving. I kind of like it though, because the Falconetti from KEBABS will not have a great like angle to shoot at this staircase if Odin's decide to move down here.
Yeah, and it's also a very trappable area, so if KEBABS try to set up, traps will be flying in, will be hitting their formations, disrupting it.
Yeah. Well, scratch that. There, it's Falconetti shooting. They're definitely hitting a couple, but as you can see, the angle is not the best.
Odin returning their
Ooh,
fire.
pinch row dropping down. Not sure that was planned. Oops, he's dead.
Oopsie.
Alright,
Those Falcons are a bit exposed out on the side. Let's see if KEBAB can punish that.
Yeah, those Falcos. Okay, nice. I like this. This is something that Lamaland has done once before. Putting up the shields big time. Making sure no one can shoot at those Falcos. Or any range there. And, Arnanor! Odin's! What you doing?
I think they are falling down because of the Falcos, right?
Yeah, they might be.
Feels like it.
Alright, trap coming in, aimed at the Falconetti there. Oh yeah, 8 Falconetti down from Lamon Rift. Only 4 Falconetti left. Alright, Odin's going in here.
Nice
Big engage, nice Imperial Pike advance here. For the Bracho, defending against any Kev. Oh, but here comes Kev from the front. Great cataphracts. Those for the Bracho are not turned the right direction. Modal are still holding strong though.
No flamers though on both sides.
Yep. Here comes more Kev. For the Bracho are cleared. Here comes the cataphracts and more Kev and more Kev and more Kev. Bobs here to clean Odin's. Odin's respawning at the gate though. Sexy KEBABS unit doing really well there. Pintro killing Sexy Satazam though. Back. Sexy Hunter picking up a kill against X Magic. Hurricane is going to get destroyed there. KEBABS taking that win.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the gap there coming from the back and the front, it's too much, right?
Yeah, that was way too much.
Yeah, I was missing some flamers there. From both sides as well. They're not playing with them, and I find that curious.
Yeah, it is a bit surprising. We can see the flamers now though. They're being popped out there by Ragnarok, the team captain from Odin's. He's bringing the flamers now to this fight. I agree. I feel like the flamers could have done really well there.
Yeah, definitely stopping some cav charges, right?
Yep. And it looks like more T5 units were lost by Odin's in that fight there.
Okay, let's see how they go about this.
Yeah, right, this is very tricky. Alright, yeah. Odin's getting out. Okay, so if there's flamers here from KEBABS, then this is not possible, though you will be stopped right away. But this time it is allowed. Nice Imperial Pike advance. Modawa raised from Odin's.
Those Imperial Pikes.
here comes the Cav. Does it go well together? Is it gonna miss a throw?
They do have a nice position in that gate. The flamers are just shooting it down.
Yeah, there's no way for KEBABS to reach those flamers. Also Pintro with his Falconetti, then with his Icalian, nice Hussar charge there, wiping that. KEBABS and supply not interrupted though, so new units are going to come in here. And the question is, can they hold? Lan90 desperately trying to get through. Lulu and Core also coming in. Here we go. And there's Barbara and Machuca. Woof. And it's a wipe.
Yeah, that looked good for a little bit there, but indeed, like you said it, the supply was not blocked and you just see it, right? The Cav coming in and the units are damaged at that point and not being able to stop it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a nice one. Alright, we can even see KEBABS blocking the supply from Odin's here now. Still 5 minutes on the clock, so this might be a bit early, but definitely delaying him. Lulu and Kur always doing a good job blocking the supplies.
The Lion-hearted.
Yeah, I once saw him do this with a musket against 5 players, so
he's definitely brave.
You can trust him to do these kind of things. Alright, KEBABS on the wall, trying to scout out what's gonna happen. Looking at the top though, what are units like?
Yeah, Odin still have some units, right?
Definitely.
I see some Flamers Vengeance, a lot of Cav again, some Modao, but also a couple players that are running blues.
Yep, we're definitely fighting with injured units now. You can see Least, he's playing 10 of his 21 Cataphracts. We can Pintro with 5 of his 12 Sicalian. Oh, pick up there by Razin, defeating Ruffle.
Dual Blades at work.
Yep.
Let's see how they do it again.
Alright, so let's see. Ooh, that's an early Cav charge. Those are the 10 Cataphracts from Pinterest. There comes Leoncourt trying to destroy all of this. Ooh, there are the Flamers. That's going to be really good.
Nice position though.
Yeah, that's a really good position there.
If you
trying to hold it. Yeah, Odin's is trying to create this space. Oh damn, I gotta zoom out. It's too much. Right.
Yeah, definitely. Now they're actually fighting on two sides, right? From the gate and from the B side. And it seems to me that it may be working. It's hard to tell at this point.
Yeah, Ragnarok has his flamer still up, although it may be only one there.
Yeah, but still the supply not being blocked.
Yep, exactly.
Also just gonna be coming again with new units. And it's gonna be very hard for Odins to keep the pressure up without units.
Exactly. Again, we can see the supply not being interrupted. Not that many units being pulled out though. Odin's trying to push through now. It's really close. This might slowly turn into a deathmatch. 3 minutes left. 130 units in favor of KEBABS though.
Nice to that. Let's see how it goes.
Oh, yeah, but that's just Village Watchmen, so that won't matter that much. We need to get out those Cataphracts. That works. Alright, Sense of Family for the hero kills here. Ruffles the Mission going down.
They're dropping quite a few units though.
Nice Zard charge in the back. Yeah, Odins are being pushed back here. This feels like KEBABS winning this fight.
Yeah, it feels like it. Just look at the units, they're running out slowly.
Will they head out though? Alright, there's time left for just one push for Odins, but do they even have the units?
I think the question will be, do they have the anti-cav, right? If you are able to stop that cav, kill those vengeance, you could make it. I still see some berserkers, but it's gonna be hard.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard.
Shield maidens as well on Dan, maybe.
Yep. Yeah, just Dan and Arnor got some blue hops, but that won't be enough against 12 Cataphracts or 17 Hussars from Machuca. Oh, you got a little pick up there. Lucas Strahl getting the pick there, that's good. Good start.
Maybe the Materatori will carry this game, you never know.
Exactly. Alright, KEBABS feeling a bit ballsy here, going on the wall where they can't use the cav. But buying time, I guess. Alright,
Yeah,
so Odins need at least like 28 or 27 seconds to capture this B point. They are getting the supply, but I don't think Kebabs really care too much
Feels
about it.
they're not gonna be able to clear points up in time.
1 minute 20 left. Alright, there's a trap. You gotta spam those traps as much as they can. All these woodcutters, all these village watchmen, can they destroy them? 3 berserkers diving right in. Where is the cav? Here comes the
Katas
cav.
incoming.
Yeah, Cataphracts incoming. Keep an eye out. Here we go. And there it is.
Just claiming, you know.
Bloop, 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 bloop.
Heroes dropping now.
Yeah, Odin's going to drop like flies here. This taking a bit of time, but the heroes use archers. And that's it. 40 seconds left. Oh, nice trap from Sexy Kebab there. He's gonna continue to jump around. Zar's coming back. No charge, but still dealing some damage. Village Watchman up on the point with nothing else. That's it, comps, that's it.
GG, GG.
Alright, Kebab's tying the score 1-1. 50
Yeah, I
seconds
like what
left,
they
but
did.
that's it.
They had a very nice flanks. Aw, cute.
Come on, give us the 1-1. Do it! Do it! 4 seconds, 3 seconds. Nope, we won't get it.
He's going in. Getting the hero damage up.
Exactly. Alright, 1-1. Odin's against Kebabs. Odin's getting another tie, another point to stay out of that 6th place. But Kebabs at least making it back after losing that defense. That was good to see from him. Alright, Barbar, he wants to make sure he gets the most units killed this season. He's leading, and he still is. After this match, probably. Good MVP performance from him once again.
Yeah, very nicely done. Just look at the numbers, right? Very high kill score, but also like very high troop. So it's yeah, they did good.
Yeah, Sexy Kebab, he's had the most MVPs out of all players so far, and also you can see him, he's killing so much good quality there. Big difference in the amount of deaths that were taken here. If this was CBL rules, all of Odin's would have been out, basically, except for Pintero. So, a big difference here in this final game between Odin's and Kebabs. That was no joke. Kebabs came to prove a point here in this last match from them.
Yeah, definitely, and I feel like that got a boost confidence, right? Sure, you lost the attack, but hey, you definitely won the defense, and it always feels good when you tie.
Yeah. Yeah, both teams getting a point. We could also say they lost 2